Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. We are here to talk some AFC football. The flip is crazy. When we were growing up, NFC was like that. AFC was not. But all these young quarterbacks are in the AFC. Here with Moody and Isaiah. How we doing?
What's good, y'all? Oh, it's almost here. Football season is literally by this time, 24 hours from now, we will be in the fourth quarter of an NFL football game that matters.
Yeah, man. The AFC offseason arms race this year was crazy. Everybody's loaded up. Everybody's geared up. It's going to be a bloodbath getting in the playoffs this year. I'm very happy my team isn't in that conference and very excited to go see how that works itself out.
Well, all right, let's get it started with the AFC East.
All right. Rounding up the rear with one of the hardest beginning schedules in the NFL. Excuse me. New York Jets, 5.5.
Under. They're it's unfortunate for them because I actually think if they were healthy and whole and together, I could really pick them to hit this over. But they already lost their left tackle / right tackle for the entire year. He's done. Zach Wilson, they keep pushing back the date because he's not coming back until November at the earliest probably. Joe Flacco can only do so much for those guys. It's going to be another rough year in New York. Under.
I can't even believe Joe Flacco's still starting NFL games nowadays. But I'm under. The Jets and Giants haven't been healthy going into a season in like 10 years. It's going to be another rough year in New York. And like Moody said, no Becton, no Zach Wilson.
No hope.
No hope.
No Zach Wilson, no Becton, no hope. I mean, it's that simple. I have the under as well. They will be the worst team in the AFC.
Yeah, probably. Next, we have a tie. At 8.5, we have the New England Patriots and Miami Dolphins. And I have bold takes, so I'm just going to knock them both out at once. I've got Miami hitting the over. I think there'll be 9-10 wins. I've got New England hitting the under, and Bill Belichick's run is over after this season.
Damn, the end of Bill Belichick. But no, I tend to agree though. Miami and New England being in the same win total, I think that's disrespectful to Miami. Miami's a much better football team. Tua doesn't lose to New England and the Patriots as well, so they already struggle dealing with those guys. All of them are going to struggle with Buffalo. Miami's a significantly better football team. I'll take them to hit their over. I think they've arrived. As long as Tua is able to stay on the field consistently, I don't see how they win less than 10 games. And as for New England, I mean, you saw it in the preseason. Their long-time offensive coordinator is gone. They've got defensive line coaches and special team coaches calling their plays. Their weapons are meh at best. I like the offensive line. Belichick let J.C. Jackson go on the defensive side of the ball too. They've gutted it on that side. This is a team that's trending downward. And Bill Belichick is going to be Bill Belichick, so they're going to win some games they ain't supposed to win. They'll fall into 7-8 wins, but they're not a playoff team, and they're definitely not the second best team in the AFC East.
What was the team total again?
I think Isaiah had an 8.5.
8.5. I will go. I guess I'm the Tua hater on this team, on this podcast. I have under. I have them at like 7-8 wins for Miami, and I will never doubt the GOAT, Bill Belichick. So I have Miami finishing third, New England finishing second. So over for New England, under for Miami.
The GOAT, Bill Belichick,
this might be a cold take.
Tagovailoa.
Yeah, this might be a very cold take in a couple weeks, but it's what I'm going with.
You're gonna rock with.
They get a week 1, right? So we're gonna see it right away.
You're gonna rock with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge ran offense.
It's gonna be Bill Belichick ran offense.
That's even worse. That's even worse. The last time Bill Belichick ran an offense was in the 70s.
The GOAT. That's all I gotta say.
It's gonna be dark times in Gillette. That's all I know.
Hey, I was watching the preseason game. They were talking about they're ready to hang there some more. They're making space for more banners.
Oh man, let's just go ahead and move on to the clear top team. Let's just go ahead. It's gonna be rough for New England.
Next, we're gonna knock out this NFC South. Oh wait, no.
Buffalo.
11.5. I've got the under. They're gonna be my division champion, and they're the only team I'm picking to win this, go to the playoffs out of this division. I got the under because I think there'll be 10, 11 wins because the AFC is so stacked. But easy division winner. They go boat race Miami a couple times, boat race New England a couple times, and boat race the Jets a couple times.
Will they be forced to punt against any of those teams? That's what I want to know. Will Josh Allen have to punt in the division this year?
I have the easy over here. I think they'll beat up on this division. What division do they play in the NFC?
I haven't looked at the schedule in a while.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I know the NFC East plays the NFC South, so they're playing one. It might be the West. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter to me, so I'll just go ahead. This is an easy over. That's the best team in the NFL from top to bottom over there. They've geared up the roster to make sure of it. It would be really, really surprising and frankly disappointing if they won less than 11 games this year, just off the pressure. Like Josh Allen, he's the best quarterback in the league to some people. They still got Diggs out there. I love the James Cook pick at running back. Trayvon White's coming back. Tre'Davious White's coming back on that defense. Still should be coached up the same type of way. We're going to see how important Brian Daboll was. I will say that if Brian Daboll was really the guy getting Josh Allen going, that'll be a tough pill to swallow. But I doubt it. I think they're the clear class of the AFC East and the AFC in general.
And just to make matters worse, they will be playing the NFC North. I'm looking at the Jets schedule. The Jets start the season with the Ravens, Browns, and Bengals, then Steelers.
Aye. But give them an easy NFC North division as well. Yeah, Buffalo's. Yeah, you hammer that over.
Easy NFC North division. Oh man, that's crazy. But moving on to the AFC South, you've got to start with the lowly Houston Texans. They're sitting at 4.5, and I think it's unfortunately an easy under. I think this is the worst team in the NFL. I think this is the worst team in the NFL, and I think the Houston Texans will be picking their next quarterback with the first overall pick. Yeah, this the worst team.
Here's where I disagree. This is going to be the Detroit Lions of the AFC, the Houston Texans. They're gonna fall in the 6-7 wins. You know how I feel about Lovie Smith. I think he's one of the more underrated defensive coaches in the league. I love the Derek Stingley pick. I think they're going to be sitting there in cover 2 playing trap coverages all day. They're in the worst division in the NFL and the AFC South as well. I think that'll help them fall to some wins. I like the over for Houston this year.
Yeah, I'm taking the over. I think Isaiah gave Davis Mills unnecessary hate by saying they're going to be number 1. I think this is an over too. They play Jacksonville twice a year. Nothing against Trevor Lawrence, but Jacksonville is Jacksonville. Like that's
I guarantee you this is going to be on the freezing cold takes easily because I don't know what you guys are seeing. Let's move on to Jacksonville, who's set at 6.5. And I'm going to go, I think Jacksonville is the team that's going to be Detroit Lions like this year, and even better. I think this team can win 7-8 games. I think Trevor Lawrence comes out looking great. I think the defense is young. I think it's versatile, and I think it's fast and athletic. I think the coaching is infinitely better than what they had last year. Yeah, and they're going to play the Texans twice. They're going to play the Texans twice and beat up on them. That's what I'm going to go with.
Davis Mills looked better than Trevor Lawrence last year.
You take that to the bank, then. You take that to the bank.
If Davis Mills had Urban Meyer coaching him up, we wouldn't even be talking about his name.
I'm not saying Davis Mills is better than Trevor Lawrence. I'm saying so far in the NFL, Davis Mills is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence.
And I'm going to tell you, I still like Davis Mills' weapons better than I like Trevor Lawrence's weapons, to be honest with you. Like, I'm 100% behind that. I like their running game. I like their offensive line just as well. Brandon Cooks will be by far the best receiver of the bunch. But moving on to Jacksonville, 6.5. You know, my freezer cold take last year was how high I was on Jacksonville. I overestimated Urban Meyer and what he was going to be. He was the worst locker room cancer of all time. But Jacksonville's won 3 games in the last 2 years. So for them to triple their win total in one offseason, I think is a little tough to sell for me. So I'll take the under. I think they'll be right around 5-6 games. They're still going to be learning the new system, learning the offense or whatever stuff. it's just going to be hard for them to make a jump that big in one offseason. And I think they spent a whole lot of money to fight for being mediocre. And that's what I worry about with them. Brandon Scherf deals with injury issues. Christian Kirk is the number one. It's just, I really can't.
Christian Kirk was the number one on the playoff team last year. He was the number one on a playoff team last year.
He was not the number one receiver.
He led him in receiving yards and touchdowns on a playoff team.
Because Hopkins was dealt with injuries, not because but they fell off when Hopkins got hurt. So let's keep in mind that they fell off when DeAndre Hopkins left the lineup. Yeah, I'm sorry, you can't sell me on Christian Kirk at $21 million a year. That's gonna bite him in the ass. It's gonna be tough. But 5-6 wins, that's like almost tripling their win total over the last couple of years. Come on, let's give them. That's still a good season for Jacksonville. But the other.
Yeah, Moody, I have the exact same thought as you. There's no way there's that big of a jump for them, I think. I think they spent their money stupidly in the offseason. The Brandon Scherf, I think is great. They needed to address the offensive line, but there was no need to give Christian Kirk $21 million. Absolutely no reason.
That's the going rate. Guys are making 30 now at the position.
No, that's not the going rate for receiver threes.
He's a receiver
that's what I think Christian Kirk is. A receiver three.
Like
a receiver three being paid like a receiver.
You made Christian Kirk, Trevor Lawrence's wide receiver 1 for his development years. That's not good enough.
The man doesn't have a 1,000-yard season to his name. The man, he about to come be a receiver 1. I'm sorry, I can't. And then Zay Jones. I'm sorry, bro. I can't buy it. I can't. They're fighting. They're like the New York Knicks. They're fighting for mid, and I can't co-sign them.
This is gonna be interesting because you guys are high on the Texans, and I'm super low on the Texans. I'm high on the Jags, and you guys are not as high. So this is gonna be interesting. But I also think this is the second part of this division is also interesting. We've got a tie of win total projection. We got 9.5. I'm going with the Tennessee Titans because I think Mike Vrabel's culture is better. I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have, at worst, the second best running back in the league. I think they have the better defense. So I think Tennessee's better than the Colts. It's unfortunate because Harold Landry literally just tore his ACL, but this team has been able to stay afloat, surviving massive injuries because the culture is that strong. I think the coaching's better, the defense is better, the quarterback's better. So I think Tennessee's better. So I've got them. Do I have them over though? I still have them actually, but I have both unders. I think Tennessee wins 9 games. I think Indianapolis wins 8 games. This division is just mid as fuck.
You don't have one of them going over when they both play Jacksonville and Houston?
Hang on, Eric, because I agree. I don't think either of those teams are winning over 9 games this year. I like the Colts a little bit more because I think they're going to be a little more fresh, a new QB bump, which has been really good for other franchises so far. I think that'll help. Their defense is solid. I think their coaching is solid as well. And I just think the Cinderella has struck for the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry, now the injury issues have popped up. The offensive line has aged a little bit more. A.J. Brown is not in the building anymore, so they're going out there with Robert Woods off a torn ACL and rookie Treylon Burks, who I like a lot. And then the defense is just, it's got to regress a little bit from last year. They knocked off a bunch of playoff caliber teams with dealing with a bunch of injuries. Kevin Byard had a random bounce back year. I'm accounting for a little bit of regression there. A tougher AFC as a whole will also be the problem. They're going to be playing a first place schedule. So that's where I think the difference between them and the Colts are. I'll take the Colts to win the division, but I don't think either of those teams win 10 plus games.
Yeah.
I have Tennessee second in the division. I'll go under 9.5 for them. I'll go over for Indianapolis. I think they'll get 10 because of the quarterback bump that we've seen in previous years has really boosted teams before. And I think Indianapolis.
Like the Indianapolis Colts last year.
And there's a difference between Carson Wentz and getting Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford. There's a little bit of a difference. And I think Matt Ryan's going to be
like the Indianapolis Colts 2 years ago.
They were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're in the playoffs.
That was Phillip Rivers. I think Matt Ryan is going to be much better than both, put up much more production than Phillip Rivers and Carson Wentz.
I agree too.
I disagree. I think Frank Reich loses his job at the end of the season. That's my other one. I think it's over for him. If they don't make the playoffs,
if they don't make the playoffs, he's getting fired. Though I agree with that. They have to make the playoffs.
So I don't have him making the playoffs. So yeah, I think it's over for Frank Reich. He'll have a nice place to fall in Jacksonville in next year though. And that's it for that division. So moving on to the NFC North. This was tough. AFC North. Thank you. This was tough for me. But we're starting with the hot take. Pittsburgh is at the lowly 7.5. I'm sorry, Mike Tomlin. It's over. The streak is over. You are not going to be over 500 this year. If this Pittsburgh team is over 500, the referees gave them blessings.
The NFL's trying. They don't leave the Eastern time zone all year.
And that's why, hang on. And that's why this is you better take this over, y'all. You better take this over. This is the easy. Vegas is handing y'all money. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers we are talking about here. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the referees will find a way. The NFL will find a way. It doesn't matter when it comes to these guys. I actually don't hate their, Mitchell Trubisky. He's going to lose that job within a few weeks, I think, anyway, just because Kenny Pickett looks so good. But their receiving core is arguably the best in the league. I love Najee Harris. I said arguably, but obviously Cincinnati and some other teams are going to be out there. But I still, as far as young guys go, I love all their potential. And the defense. TJ Watt should have broke the sack record last year. Minka is going to be there healthy again. They're going to get Devin Bush back. Hayward is still looking really, really good. Their defense is going to win them a couple of games as well. Yeah, Pittsburgh will still fall in the 8 wins because that's just what they do.
Moody, I agree with you, everything you said. But I'm going under because I am stupid. I just don't see it with the other 3 teams in this division, man. I just don't see it. But I know I'm going to be wrong.
I also agree, Eric. Sensible people, when you look at a roster and you match them up in this conference.
Stop acting like that matters with Pittsburgh. That doesn't matter with Pittsburgh. It doesn't. They won 8 games with Duck Hodges. Anyone know where Duck Hodges and Josh Dobbs are? Can anybody tell me where those guys are? For Pittsburgh, they were winning 9+ games. That's Mr. Trubisky's way better than what they've had.
Moody, I know I'm going to be wrong. But I got to take under.
They got better at quarterback.
I just peeked at the schedule, and they are playing the AFC East and the NFC South.
Wow. I'd change it. Over. Over. What are we talking about? Over. What?
The Vegas, y'all about to steal money from Vegas. Trust me. That's just easy over. All right, let's move on.
I also have to amend I'm going to take the over. They get to 8, but they're not having a winning record.
It'll be 8. It'll be 8-1. That's what they'll do. Like last year.
All right. Next is the Cleveland Browns at 8.5. They won't have their quarterback for the first 10 games.
11.
So I think it's an easy under because if you're playing with Jacoby Brissett all for like 3/4, 2/3 of the season, I don't think you're winning many games with Jacoby Brissett. So I think this is an easy under.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty clean sweep here. We don't have to dive too much into it. Their quarterback is suspended. The
run game will be great this year, probably. O-line's still great.
Or
defense will be better.
Or teams, or like the strong run defenses like the Bengals, Ravens, and Steelers will be loading up the box and telling Jacoby Brissett to beat them. And I don't think they will. So easy under.
Eric?
Yeah, I'm going under too. I think they'll get a great draft pick, which will make next year even better for them. But we're talking
for Houston.
Right. You're right. Yeah, under. I think they'll be last in the division.
Ooh. All right, next we've got the Cincinnati Bengals, the AFC winners from last season at 9.5. So I guess I'll time together with Baltimore because Baltimore's at 10.5, surprisingly. This was hard for me because picking playoff teams, it was tough because I think all the teams in the AFC West make the playoffs, but the way things are going to work out, it might be best that these teams luckily don't have to play most of those teams all year. But I'm going to go over for Cincinnati because it's Joey B to Jamar Chase to T. Higgins to Joe Mixon. They got with Lyle Collins, Alex Kappa coming in to help the offensive line, replace 2 other starters. The defense will probably regress a little, but the offense will be better. And if that offense is better, we could be looking at a possible MVP season for Mr. Joe Brady, possible offensive player of the year season for Mr. Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins finding a way to get that bag that he's going to be coming up for. So I'm going to take the over for Cincinnati, and I'm going to cap them as the champions, which means I have to take the under, and I got to bet against Lamar Jackson, which hurts me because I wish he had his contract, but I don't think the Ravens are better. I don't think they have in this arms race. I think they just lack a little behind, and this is not the year where you're going to need your quarterback to carry you relentlessly. So I'm going to take Cincinnati over for 9.5 and Baltimore under for 10.5.
All right. As far as Cincinnati goes, yeah, I think they'll be over. Usually the loser of the Super Bowl, they're going to come back with a little bit of motivation. Hopefully the Saturday doesn't get them too much. We saw Aaron Donald swinging helmets at them. They're fired up, ready to go. They got my boy Lyle Collins there, getting paid by the Cowboys to protect Joe Burrow. Makes me very, very sad. But, they're just a complete football team now. We saw the way their defense performed in the playoffs. Probably don't expect it at that high of a level, but I still think they'll be good enough. And this is going to be the best offense in the league. They have the most talented offense in the NFL. I expect nothing less from that. The only thing you worry about them is like now you're playing a first place schedule. Now you're seeing better teams on a more consistent basis instead of sparingly like they did last year. And teams aren't going to let Cincinnati sneak up on them anymore. So now, especially, and I'm sure Baltimore and Pittsburgh specifically are going to be looking at smoke for Cincinnati after what they did to their backups last year. But I'll take the over for Cincinnati. I won't pick them to win the division, though, because I think Baltimore is better. I think Baltimore is a better football team. Lamar Jackson, they were going to be the 1 seed last year until Lamar Jackson got hurt. They were 8-3, top of the conference. He wins 75% of his football games. I love the way they handled their draft. They rebuilt. They added Marcus Williams to help that secondary. They might have the best set of safeties in the NFL, arguably the best secondary now, considering all the talent that they've added. They're going to get guys back. I love Baltimore. I love Lamar Jackson. They win when he plays. And I expect him to play a full season, and they'll be well over, 10.5 wins. They'll be back over 11 like usual.
So you think two teams in this division make the playoffs?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think 2 teams make it from this division. I've got the under on Baltimore and the over on Cincinnati, just because I think Cincinnati is going to win the division. If I thought Baltimore was going to win the division, they'd be flip-flopped. It's whoever you think is going to win the division is the over, and whoever's not is going to be the under.
Cool. Wow. This is going to be interesting. AFC, as we said, it's loaded.
It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a bloodbath for sure.
Moving on to the bloodbath, we've got the AFC West with not a single team getting less than 8.5 games as their line. We're going to start with the Las Vegas Raiders, who are getting 8.5.
It's going to be a bloodbath. But I think the Raiders are the worst team in this division. And it's tough to say. Sorry, Devontae Adams, you're not going from Hall of Fame quarterback to Hall of Fame quarterback. I still have questions about the Raiders' offensive line, and more importantly, I have questions about their defense. We'll see what Josh McDaniels can do. I think the Raiders will be a very explosive, high-powered offense this year. They have the weapons for it. But I don't think they'll be able to get a whole lot of stops against the other divisional opponents the way their divisional opponents will be able to get stops against them. But it's hard to even say they'll take the under just because I still think they're a 9-10 win team. But with the way they'll probably get beat up, they have the worst quarterback and I think the worst team in the division. So I'll take the under for the Vegas Raiders.
Wow. Eric, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm taking the under as well. I think this is the team that gets beat up the most in this division. I think if you look at all 4 teams on here, you look at Las Vegas and go, they have the toughest schedule, even though it's pretty much the same schedule.
It's not their team isn't the good team. So yeah. They don't have the dominant team, so their schedule is harder. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got the under.
I've got the over. I think Denver's the worst team in this division.
Wow.
I mean, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, those guys are going to be running wide open all day. And Derek Carr loves him some checkdowns. Those are probably the 3 best crossing route options you could have in the NFL. Josh McDaniels' schemes looked amazing in the preseason. I think they could win this. They could sneakily win this division. They have a better chance of winning the division, in my opinion, than being the last place team. That's all I got to say about it. And the defense with Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. I mean, I can't name much in their secondary because they've replaced it. But I'm gonna let went and got Patrick Graham, who's worked wonders with some minimal talent in New York. I think the coaching and the roster is elite. I'm just gonna go ahead and spoil the rest. I picked the over for every single team in this division because I believe every single team in this division is going to win the playoffs. We'll continue to go through the rest, but next is Denver at 9.5. Go ahead, Moody.
Yeah, Denver is going to be my pick to win the division. There's my hot take for the year. It's the QB power movement. When these generational Hall of Fame QBs switch teams, those teams become Super Bowl contenders. In the last 2 years, they won the Super Bowl. And I don't know if Denver's going to the Super Bowl, but I am a massive fan of Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett had Blake Bortles looking competent in the AFC Championship game. That's how good of a play caller he is. Aaron Rodgers loves him. He helped Aaron Rodgers string together back-to-back MVP seasons off of his play calling. I think he'll do the same for Russell Wilson. I think it's the best weapons Russell Wilson's had, and that's much respect to Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I think this is a deeper receiving core across the board, like what they have at tight end, and most importantly, what they have in the backfield. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, that's a two-man game, so Russell Wilson doesn't have to do anything but play action bombs over the top. I love that team. They're massive over. Still think they have the most talented defense in the division. Chubb and Gregory coming off the edge. I think that's going to be a dynamic pass rush duo. A little underrated from the rest of the guys, but still pretty good. And they have the best secondary. With Surtain and those guys, big fan of this Denver Broncos. I think they win the AFC West this year.
Wow. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're all Isaiah, I'm on the same page as you. I got all three over. I have Denver finishing third in this division, but still making the playoffs. I have the top three teams from this division making the playoffs.
All right, what's next? What's Kansas City and LA?
Next, we've got the Chargers at 10 games. I've already said I've got the over in all the teams in the division. But what more can I say other than I think the Chargers might have the potential MVP on their roster, and they're going to probably – they're not my pick to win the division because I'm going to go with Kansas City because people have been despairing and besmirching Mr. Mahomes' name. But I got the over for Chargers. The only worry I have is J.C. Jackson is already hurt. But I think they have two potential defensive player of the years without J.C. Jackson. So, I mean, and they have the best. And they got the best quarterback in the division, in my opinion. I think by the end of this year, they'll have the best quarterback in the division. As long as Brandon Staley doesn't fuck up with his fourth and short aggressiveness, they'll be fine.
This will be over for the Chargers. They might be my pick to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Even though I'm not picking them to win the division, I just think they'll get beat up a little bit from lack of experience from their offense. But overall, they're going to be super dynamic. Justin Herbert, absolutely an MVP candidate. It's about time that he showed up and started playing in the important games, started playing in the big games, and I think this is the year to do it. I worry about, like Isaiah said, Brandon Staley. I think the one thing that holds them back is Brandon Staley. I don't think he can elevate the offense and Justin Herbert with his coaching well enough like the other coaches can for their quarterbacks, and that's why I think they'll be third in the division, but still a comfortable playoff team.
Yeah, I have LAC winning the division. And an over. I think this is Justin Herbert's welcome to the playoffs year.
And my bad, I have the Chargers second in the division behind Denver. Not
so we all picked a different division winner, and none of us picked Las Vegas. So we're leaving ourselves exposed. But go ahead, what you were gonna say. You were gonna besmirch Mahomes' name. That's what you were about to do. I'm not
besmirching Mahomes' name. Once again, they'll hit their over because when you have a franchise quarterback, you win 9-10 games. The only guy who's considered top 10 to not win that many games every year is Deshaun Watson. That's it. Everybody else, you're gonna win 9-10 games minimum. I expect Patrick Mahomes to be over his win total. Their defense should be improved. I think I like that about them as well. They still have the best offensive line in the NFL. That's going to be more than enough for Patrick Mahomes to make the plays he needs to make. He's going to step up. Him and Kelsey will be big in the big games, and they'll force those other teams to fight and dogfight for the division. But at the end of the day, I still think they're the third most talented team, maybe the fourth most talented team in that division. Their tiebreaker is Mahomes. And having Mahomes is awesome, but to get through a 17-game regular season as the least talented team in your division, I think will be tough. They'll be a playoff team for sure, but I don't think they're the best team in the division.
Eric, you go ahead before I finish up with Kansas City.
Yeah, I have the over in Kansas City. I'm just interested on how teams start guarding Travis Kelce now that the speed demon Tyreek Hill is gone. I'm gonna see how they bracket him, double him, all that stuff. But I also think Juju Smith-Schuster will reclaim like being a top 20, top 15 wide receiver this year.
Yeah, before Moody just started besmirching the Kansas City Chiefs, I think they have the best coach in the division, which means a lot, especially when he won the Super Bowl. I think they've got at worst the second best quarterback. He's proven to be the best. He's got the MVP. I think they did the best work in the offseason. I think they added Sky Moore, Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, all of those guys to be potential rookie of the year caliber players. We know look what they did with Creed Humphreys last year. This is one of the best drafting and developing teams in the league. I think they'll be just fine. I think my bold prediction is that MVS scores 5+ explosive touchdowns. I think they chug along. And the only problem is the division's so damn brutal that like last year when the Chargers beat them, I don't think the Raiders beat them at all last year. They own them. But when the Chargers beat them, is that, oh, wow, they've got the most talented quarterbacks to play, the most talented rosters to play. And when you're playing with that type of competition, you can only be but so much better than great competition. So they're going to be playing on a lot of level playing fields. So hopefully Mahomes does his thing, but this is my team to win this division.
Yeah, I think this is going to be probably the most exciting division race since I've really started watching football. I think this is going to be an all-timer year for this division.
It's reminiscent of the early 2010s, late 2000s NFC East races when you were putting the Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys in the playoffs in the same year. So I think it's probably the best I've ever seen because these teams are loaded on offense, which is more exciting to watch. But yeah, this is going to be delicious to consume. But I'm going to run through my playoff teams one last time. So in the AFC East, I've got the Buffalo Bills taking the role of the Patriots and just running Rapshaw on that division. I think we all agree with that. In the AFC South, I'm going to go with Tennessee. In the NFC North, I'm going to go with Cincinnati. And unfortunately for all the other second-place teams, I've got every single team in the AFC West going to the playoffs, and I got Kansas City as the champion.
You go ahead, Eric.
All right, so I got Buffalo in the East, Indianapolis in the South, Cincinnati winning the division with Baltimore making a wild card, and then all three teams that we've spoke of in the West. Is that one too many?
No, because you got three. I've got four. I've got all four teams in the West.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I got obviously the my hot take. Broncos take the AFC West. I'll take the Colts. I'll take the Ravens to win their division, and Buffalo's going to ransack the AFC East and pick the one seed from everybody. That's going to be a struggle for them. Whoever finishes, I don't know who this is going to be, but whoever finishes third in the AFC West will not be making a trip to the playoffs this year. So that, fortunately, for Patrick Mahomes means him, because I think two teams in the AFC North and the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals both get in themselves. So that's how I run it through right there.
No, there's seven. There's seven though.
Didn't I pick two? So there's one more. I got one more team. Okay, I thought I did my math wrong. Yeah, then all the AFC West teams will get in.
No, you have to leave off one. You got to leave off one because you got two. You got two.
I did all the division winners, Cincinnati, and the rest of the AFC West.
Okay, which is only 2 spots.
Yeah, so I said whoever finishes. All right, fourth. Whoever finishes fourth in the AFC West, the Raiders, will not be making a trip to the playoffs. Just have my math off, but no playoffs for the Raiders.
Ooh, damn. All right, this is gonna be interesting because there was a lot of discrepancies in our thoughts here, so this one's gonna be wild.
It's gonna be a bloodbath.
Okay. All right, we'll catch y'all next time. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, interact. It's a 5-step process. And
be a 5-tool viewer. Be a 5-tool viewer.
We're gonna teach you that. But yeah, we'll be back with the award predictions.